Download this code from codegive.com, link in the description below. Sure. In this tutorial, we will create a simple CI/CD pipeline using Azure DevOps for a sample .NET Core application. We will cover the following steps. 1. Setting up Azure DevOps project. 2. Creating a sample .NET Core application. 3. Configuring the CI/CD pipeline. 4. Deploying to Azure App Service. 5. Testing the pipeline. Step 1. Setting up Azure DevOps project. 1. Sign into Azure DevOps. Navigate to Azure DevOps, https://dev.azure.com, and sign in with your Microsoft account. 2. Create a new project. Click on New Project. Provide a project name, description, and visibility, public or private. Click Create. Step 2. Creating a sample .NET Core application. 1. Create a .NET Core application. Open your terminal or command prompt and run. 2. Run the application locally. Make sure you have the .NET SDK installed. Run the application. Open a browser and navigate to http://localhost 5000 to see your application running. 3. Initialize a Git repository. Initialize a Git repository and commit your changes. Step 3. Push code to Azure DevOps repository. 1. Create a repository in Azure DevOps. Navigate to the repos section in your Azure DevOps project. Click on Files and then Initialize to create a new repository. 2. Push your code. Follow the instructions in Azure DevOps to push your local repository to Azure DevOps. This typically involves Step 4. Configuring the CI/CD pipeline. 1. Create a new pipeline. Go to the Pipelines section in Azure DevOps. Click on Create Pipeline. 2. Select your source. Choose Azure Repos Git as the source. Select your repository and click Continue. 3. Configure the pipeline. Azure DevOps will suggest a template. You can choose ASP.NET Core or create a custom pipeline. If using YAML, here's an example Azure Pipelines.yml configuration. 4. Save and run. Save the pipeline configuration. Click Run to trigger the pipeline. Step 5. Deploying to Azure App Service. 1. Create an Azure App Service. Go to the Azure portal. Create a new app service, web app, and note down the details. 2. Add Azure App Service deployment task. Modify your Azure Pipelines.yml to include deployment to Azure. Make sure to replace your Azure Service Connection and your app service name with your actual Azure Service Connection name and app service name. 3. Create Azure Service Connection. In Azure DevOps, navigate to Project Settings Service Connections. Click New Service Connection Azure Resource Manager Service Principal, Automatic. Follow the prompts to connect Azure DevOps with your Azure subscription. Step 6. Testing the pipeline. 1. Run the pipeline. Go back to the Pipelines section and run your pipeline. Monitor the logs to ensure each step completes successfully. 2. Verify deployment. Once successful, navigate to the URL of your Azure App Service to see your application in action. Conclusion. You have now successfully set up a CI/CD pipeline using Azure DevOps for a .NET Core application. This pipeline will automatically trigger on every commit to the main branch, running tests, building the application, and deploying it to Azure App Service. Feel free to expand on this by adding unit tests, integrating code quality checks, or deploying to different environments. Happy coding!